Hey, Trailblazers, if you are a coach or a course creator, is it worth it to do social media in 2025? Will you actually reach new people and bring in more sales? That's what we're diving into today, so stick around. If you want to build a legitimate, profitable online business without shiny objects, without the hypey gimmicks, and without the stress and overwhelm, if you want to make more money without having to be present online all day, every day, pumping out content that nobody sees and hustling DMs to generate leads and sales, then this is the place for you. Welcome to the Digital Trailblazer Podcast, your online business university, where you'll learn how ordinary people start from ground zero with no influence, no email list or audience to sell to, and no business or marketing experience, and go from working 9-to-5 jobs to building successful 6- and 7-figure online businesses and all the steps in between. Learn the strategies that worked and what didn't. Learn the mistakes that they made and how to avoid them, and then learn their plans for scaling their businesses and taking things to the next level. All so that you can build your business faster and easier and make more money without sacrificing the things that are important to you in your life. I'm your host, Leah Ray Getz, and with me is my husband, Todd. Now, let's get to it with today's guest. Now, I'm excited about this conversation today because I've had many versions of this conversation many times. So I run into folks, I get to talk to people from all over the globe who are striving to build businesses online, coaching businesses, sell courses, and the like. And a lot of them have maybe been successful coaches offline, or they've done, warm market coaching where they're getting referrals, that sort of thing. And they're all like, well, I know I need to do more on social media. I've been working hard on social media. I know I need to move to social media. And they equate being busy on social media to actually moving this online, to being able to generate leads and get sales in a digital space. Let's break that down. I really want to dive into this because I think there's a lot of misconception these days with all of this. And I don't want you to waste a ton of time and energy. And I want you to use social media strategically and in the right way. So if you aren't familiar, like Todd and I have been around for almost ever in internet terms. I think almost 10 years.
Almost 10 years now.
Yeah. So a very long time. So we've seen a lot of things come and go. And there have been some really cool opportunities for massive audience growth throughout the years. So back at the very beginning of things, that was, anybody who posted anything on YouTube went crazy, right? Got tons of leads, tons of sales, tons of views, all that going on. There was opportunities, even when they would, the platform wasn't necessarily live, but maybe the type of content was new. So if you remember back in the days when Facebook Lives were new, and if you went live on Facebook, you reached a bunch of new people, you're building a loyal audience, you're able to use it for making sales. So there's a lot of growth opportunity. There's been, with Reels and stories and different things with Instagram and Facebook and with TikTok, there's been these really cool opportunities. What was the one? Clubhouse, if you remember Clubhouse.
Yeah.
That was like stupid crazy. That one went like huge and then totally busted. But those opportunities have come and gone. What's happening now? Because I would argue that for someone who is a business owner who isn't a full-time creator on social media, like if your job isn't creation, but you're actually selling something like coaching, that the way that the algorithms are working these days, social media is not a good opportunity for growth, meaning for the algorithms to show your content to new people. So I've run into tons of people who've got this massive schedule that they are sticking to religiously, where they're posting X amount of times per day or per week, and they're putting their heart and soul into creating great content on social media. And they've been doing it for a long time, and they're just speaking to the same people over and over again, and they're not actually growing. And they were sold this concept like, hey, if I show up and I create great content, my people will just find me and they'll come and they'll join my program, or they'll buy my course or do whatever. Social media right now is a beautiful way to nurture people, to build that know, like, and trust factor with people who are in your audience, who you've already become connected with. But I would argue that for the average coach or course creator today, the growth opportunity solely from content by itself is pretty low.
And if you've been around for a while, you may have heard the phrase that content is king. And someone, I forget who it was on the podcast, but someone had came on the podcast to talk about that. And the point that they were making, and I agree with them, is that 10 or 20 years ago, when a lot of these social media platforms were new and you could create content and there was a lot less competition, that yes, that was true. Content was king. You could create content. If you were consistent with it, you'd grow a decent following. Even if your content wasn't that great, you could grow a decent following. You didn't need fancy editing or professional copywriting or any of that stuff. And you could build a good size audience and your business could rely on that. Now it's more like content is the necessary baseline. The point that we're trying to get across here is not that social media isn't worth it, but it's the thing that you need to do just to stay above water. It'll give you some growth, but where it's going to be the most important in your business is to take an audience that you already have and move them towards a sale.
So a lot of folks will think, well, they're supposed to reach and pitch people on social. Like someone who watched something for the first time and now they're going to go buy something. Well, that's not how people make purchasing decisions. They have to see you many times. They have to feel like they know, like, and trust you before they're willing to make a purchasing decision. I love using social media as what here at Digital Trailblazer we talk about sometimes the middle of funnel. So this is where we got connected somehow. We got connected somehow. They found us, whether it was through our podcast or something else, and now they got into our world. Part of our funnel process was to invite them to join our Facebook group or check out some pieces of content that are out on social. And now they're seeing us and engaging with us there. So not only are they going to get the standard like emails and text, but a Facebook Live where I'm actually talking to them if they're able to show up live or on the replay and go back and forth and show personality and my little quirks and give really good value has a much bigger impression on someone than just some words on a page, on a screen in an email. I will tell you, time and time again, our Facebook group is really where we hang out. That's like our tribe where we do most of our social stuff. And when we get someone who books a sales call from the Facebook group, it's kind of a done deal. We know that they want to purchase something from us.
Yeah, we know that they've been nurtured enough where they've already made the decision that they want to buy and join. And now it's just a matter of learning the details of how to make that happen.
Exactly. So I love social, use it, but understand its limitations. If you're trying to use just content creation as a way to reach new people, that's fairly limited and very difficult these days. The algorithm is hard to manipulate. The growth is very, very slow. So you're going to have much more progress, much faster if you actually connect with people from outside places. So I kind of think of these in kind of 3 different categories or buckets. One would just be hustle. And it's not fun, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it is a viable way to do this. And the hustle bucket is like on Facebook. That's when people are joining other groups that their target audience is in, and they're sending friend requests, and they're starting conversations, and they're inviting them to follow them or to join their Facebook group. They're messaging with people. On Instagram or TikTok, there's a lot of engaging. So watching people's content, engaging on their content, sending some messages. The more you do that, obviously, you're going to reach new people. It is slow. It is time intensive. And that's why it is not my favorite option. But it is viable. People do it all the time.
And these types of networking and what we would call prospecting methods, a lot of people will call this organic, quote, organic. And the only people who are really calling this organic are people who are trying to sell you a course on how to do this or sell you a coaching program on how to do this, because it's not organic. This is the online equivalent of door-to-door sales is basically what it is. That being said, does it work? Yes, it can absolutely work. But like Leah mentioned, it is just a huge hustle. And so even the people who are selling this as a course, they built their business off of this, they're doing a coaching program on this, even those people get burnt out and they want to move on to something else in order to generate the traffic that they need to sell that course on how to do the hustle.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that before. So bucket number 2, and I have to say bucket number 3 is my favorite, but bucket number 2 is just outside leads, meaning I'm a big fan of podcasting. Shucks, right? Who would have thought? We have a whole network of podcasts at Digital Trailblazer. We love podcasting. If you're creating great content, you're putting it out on Apple, Spotify, on the different platforms, you're able to generate leads from that. You should have part of your funnel once someone opts in for a freebie, when someone even just listens to a podcast episode, invite them to follow you, join your Facebook group, do it wherever you're hanging out on social. give them the invite to join you there so they can follow you and get more content. So you can drive traffic from your podcast, from other places. Or I've seen people do really well with this, even just networking, whether you're doing virtual networking events or in-person networking events. When you connect with someone who is in your target audience, you best be getting them to follow you on social, join your Facebook group, connect with you elsewhere, and not just exchanging phone numbers, but getting them where you're going to pop up in their newsfeed, where they're going to see you when they're not even thinking about you and be like, oh, yeah, that person, I really enjoyed her or him and what they had to offer. Maybe I should reach out to them. So bringing in outside traffic, even if it's just from networking, physical or virtual networking events, or from your podcast or other avenues as well.
And when we talk about podcasts, what we're mostly talking about is going on other people's podcast as a guest. Starting your own, obviously starting your own podcast can be great, but again, it's a long road to building your own audience on your podcast. The better thing to do is to go on other people's podcast where they've already spent months or even years building an audience. And so you can just hop in right in the middle of that process and instantly get in front of thousands of people who already know, like, and trust the host, and they're treating you as the expert guest. And that is an amazing way to get in front of people very quickly, and it's organic.
Now, the third bucket, and one that I truly, truly love, is ads, actually paying to get in front of new people. This works especially well if you're already creating great content. If you can create great content and your core audience, people who've been following you, the people that connect with you, if they're engaging and loving on the content you're already creating, why not put a few bucks behind that? Let Facebook, let Instagram or wherever find more people for you who would also enjoy that content, and then get them into your world where you can show up for them time and time again.
And this is where we see a lot of people when they try to get into Facebook ads, they're approaching ads with a mentality that maybe worked 5 years ago, but is not really working right now. In other words, they're trying to use Facebook ads to sell directly. You've got a course or you got a coaching program and you've got a sales page, and you're running ads directly to a sales page or to a book a call page. And you're either not generating any leads or you're generating some leads, but not making any sales. And that's what's going to happen if you try to run ads like that. Versus if you're already creating content, just take that content and boost that post on Facebook. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money. It can be as little as $3 or $5 a day. And that will grow your audience bigger and faster than anything else you can do for super cheap. I remember back in, I think it was 2016, 2017, when we started blogging really heavily. And at the time, we had this idea that if we could get our website to rank for the right keywords, that would be what would bring in all this organic traffic, and it would be totally worth it. So we were spending $1,500 a month for an SEO agency to help us to get backlinks, to SEO optimize our website, to create these articles and all that stuff. $1,500 a month. And we did that for over a year. After over a year of working with this agency, we were up to several hundreds of visitors to our web. And this is just visitors to the website. This isn't even leads or anything else from that. It's just visitors to the website. Versus we could have spent 1/10 of that amount and probably gotten 10 times more right from the very beginning, immediately when we started the ads, rather than have to wait over a year to build up to that amount. It is so much easier and cheaper to get traction with your content if you just put a little bit of ad spend behind it. And you're going to reach people who are targeted, who are the people that you want to reach. And it is so much easier and faster than SEO or pumping out content and trying to hack the algorithm or do whatever else in order to get traction organically.
So yes, using one of these three buckets or a combination of these categories to reach new people and then love on them, create great content on social to nurture them into, move them closer to you and ready to make a purchasing decision. That's the way to use social media beautifully for coaches and course creators in 2025 and probably very far beyond. So we do actually have a special little gift for you today. There'll be a link in the description or a button somewhere that you will see. It's going to offer you a chance to grab our guest speaking guide. So this is a phenomenal guide that Todd put together. It's totally free. So grab access to that. It's going to walk you through this process, especially podcast guesting. How do you get on the good ones? What does this look like? How to make this work to actually lead to paying clients. So you want to click on the button or the link wherever you can find it and grab access to that right away.
So thank you everybody for being with us today. Be sure to click that link in the description or the show notes. Grab that free guide and we will see you next time.
You've been listening to the Digital Trailblazer podcast. For show notes and information about today's guest, head to digitaltrailblazer.com. Now, if you love this episode, if you got some value, make sure you leave us a review and subscribe. And be sure to share this episode with anyone you know who could use help to build their business. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.